I've said this before 100 times, but if you were an alien or whatever, and you're looking down on the Earth going, well, what's this all about? And you might look at Africa first,
right?
The poorest part of the world. Wow, they're like walking kilometers to get water, carrying it on their head.
Right.
They're just fighting to survive. Wow, what's this country over here? Wow. What are they doing?
It looks like it's the zombie apocalypse because everybody's just walking around.
And they just want to. We just want to
staring
stare
at something.
This thing in our face.
Yeah. Well, it's almost.
Where's it going to go?
Well, I mean, it is. Like
actually, I'm going to ask you, where is it going to go?
Well, and that's the crazy thing because honestly, I think with. I still think we're just a little ways off, but a little ways off nowadays, I mean, could still be just a few years from now, and that's the crazy thing. But I think we're probably getting to the point pretty soon where a certain amount of virtual reality, the VR stuff, and I'm not exactly talking about necessarily things like Oculus Rift. I don't, not necessarily things where you need to wear headsets. Right. But more stuff almost like what, Microsoft has with the HoloLens.
Yeah.
Little stuff like that.
Or even, didn't I see, what do they call them? Contact lenses.
Yeah. I mean, there's stuff being done now, where that's going to be something that would be a wireless probably monitor, from your phone into your eye.
Right.
Stuff like that. That's, it's crazy and it sounds like science fiction, but, I mean... Before the iPhone came out, I mean, you wouldn't have thought that you would be using your phone basically in place of a computer altogether.
I remember having a Nokia S60, I think they were called, which was the first of sending SMS to people, and writing the little script. And I remember hearing on the radio, the future for phones will be we'll be able to watch video on our phones. I'm going, that screen.
There's no way.
No way. That will never take off.
Well, and now, of course, I mean, like iPhone 6 Plus,
it speaks
all
to
the
our
Android
eyes, though.
Stuff.
We can get all our entertainment
it's full HD, or, some Android phones are above regular high def resolution, so, I mean, it's coming, like 4K resolutions, even on a phone, are coming really soon, and so it's one of those things where it's just like, man, this is insane. And I know for a fact that there are companies working on ways that people can do their work, meaning their work on their phones without using computers at work.
Yeah.
So imagine if somebody can figure, if one of these companies can actually figure out a way where that gets to the point where you're still as productive doing it on your phone as you are in a computer. And I mean, nobody will really need or want to use computers anymore, except for, if you just want a big screen or something, That
will be the start of, I can only think that's bad. Like, it's obviously great.
Yeah.
But imagine being lying on your back all the time. I've been doing it here all the time. I can work remotely with this computer here.
Yeah.
But all my emails are done lying on my back.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much for me too. I mean, unless it's an email where I really need to write a lot, if it's just a couple sentences or a small paragraph, I'll just shoot it off on my phone, while I'm laying in bed or, doing whatever. So, it's one of those things. I mean, and part of that might also be how much better voice recognition gets and how much, certain things like even what Stephen Hawking uses where, the computer reads where his eyes look.
I see.
To type how he speaks, and so, things like that. I mean, because there are obviously neurons firing off in our brains that kind of can be read to a certain extent even now by, the scientific community. So imagine if that's something where you can put a neural, just a little sticker on the side of your temple there, and all of a sudden it kind of can just go ahead and type your mails for you because it knows what you're thinking, I mean.
And that's just around the corner.
And that's, it's not.
Really, the start of someone using it.
Yeah, I mean, once again, it sounds like science fiction, but it's not. It's not one of those things where it's like, that's never going to happen. I mean, because there's a lot of stuff that, is coming that's going to be kind of insane when it hits.
Yeah. I wonder if we'll ever get out of... Everyone knows now.
Yeah.
You kind of like, if you're in a public situation, something about holding be it a beer.
Yeah.
A drink.
holding something in
your hand sort of makes you feel not so naked, like.
Yeah, I agree.
So we'll probably always have this thing, even though they're making Apple Watches now.
Yeah. Like I don't know. I agree with you. It's one of those things where if for some reason you're in a crowd and there's a slightly socially awkward.
Yeah, like hands in the pocket.
Yeah. What I do with my hands. Well, I'll just pull out my phone and check Facebook or act like I'm checking an email or do something like that. So you don't look like you're just standing there going,
no friends.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I think
wouldn't it be funny?
Be something.
Wouldn't it be funny if we end up with contact lens, brain? No, not even contact lens, just brain stuff. But they still sell plastic fake phones.
Oh, just so we have something to do. That actually sounds like that.
Write that one down too.
That'd be an aftermarket for that stuff. It's like, hey, since
a
your hands kind of,
all those retro kids.
Yeah, exactly. Since your hand's obviously lonely, now you can use that fake plastic phone that's not really there.
Oh, you got the Nokia X60.
Well, yeah, funny. but it's one of those things, like they even have the wristbands and stuff. Like, I don't know if you've seen these, but they have certain wristbands now that you can wear, and it will actually project, your iPhone or your Android screen on your wrist.
Wow.
And so you can tap on your wrist and stuff, and it works. So, you can kind of leave your phone in your pocket and just do it on your wrist and then still tap it, and it all still works, So it's
madness.
There's some crazy cool stuff coming, and that's one of the things. Obviously, being in the game industry, we're always trying to do new stuff. When new hardware comes out, we try to look at it and see, okay, what are the applications for this for games? And you think about it for games, but really, once again, like to the VR, virtual reality stuff, Oculus. Like, to me, obviously you can think of game applications, but I even think of it for stuff that's more mundane. Like me being an expat living here in Japan and my family all lives back in Georgia or, other places, I think, wouldn't it be cool if I could actually put on a headset or use the HoloLens for Microsoft and actually feel like I'm sitting at home in my living room with my mom and dad?
Yeah.
That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
If it got to the point where the holographic image or, the image in the virtual reality is other than tactile, it's so indistinguishable from reality that you actually feel like you've just traveled, 7,000 miles.
Yeah,
and
it gives everyone that warmth.
And you're kind of having dinner with your family, even though, maybe you're sitting at a burger shop in Tokyo and they're eating dinner or breakfast, whatever the time lag is. But that kind of stuff, to me would be pretty awesome. And I think, except for the fact not being able to actually give family members a hug or, slap them on the back or something like that.
And smell the cooking.
Yeah, smell that stuff. But, other than that, if you still feel like, because right now we're talking across the table, I'm not touching you, but I feel like we're in the same room.
Yep.
So imagine if that... Yeah, if this were all just completely a hologram, it would still feel pretty real to me.
With even that, you can just see your nose.
Yeah.
Even that,
exactly.
I'm just here. I can't believe I'm not here. I'm here.
Yeah. That sort of stuff, to me, that's where I think virtual reality and like HoloLens and that stuff's really going to take off.
Yeah. No, Dad's coming in. No.
Yeah. It's like, well, hey, I know you guys are eating breakfast. I'm taking a dump right now. So if you hear a flush, don't worry about it.
Your little hologram finger.
Yeah. But that sort of stuff, and I think that's where it'll really take off because gamers, game industry stuff. Predominantly that's always been kind of an early adopter market. Gamers are normally easier to buy new technology to see if it works and to test stuff out.
That's what I wanted to. You made me think. Wow, what an almost paranoid industry. If you were to be. Hey, where are you, what's the name of the company you're working? What's
my company is Black Tower Studios.
Right, Black Tower Studios.
Yeah.
Imagine if you were working in the crew that were in the Sega Dreamcast.
Yeah.
It would be a paranoid industry because there'd be all these kids, all these guys working for the head company there, and going, we are going in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Can't you see that everyone is putting on virtual reality?
Well, and that and that's the thing.
We should be here. We should be there.
Well, and
it will never end.
Well, exactly, and that's why one of the reasons I wanted to do my own indie dev is because, I kind of wanted to take the steering wheel myself, and of course my guys that are working with me and stuff. I mean, it's one of those things where, I mean, all the kind of responsibility and stuff falls on the shoulders of the president and stuff. But, I mean, it helps when you have a team of guys that support, the decisions you make and where the company's headed and stuff like that. Yeah. But I mean, it's one of those things where, I mean, it's hard to explain without, honestly trying it yourself. But, starting your own company in any industry, it's one of those fly by the seat of your pants things. And that's one of the funny things about making video games that I think, this information, a lot more indie devs are upfront and honest about game development nowadays than, say 10 years ago, where it was kind of a black box and everybody was like, oh, wow, okay, so these guys have these, really detailed dev plans and they follow it and then they'll create new stuff along the way. And I mean, I think if most people knew how much you're flying by the seat of your pants through a lot of development, I mean, it's insane that, number one, a lot of games even get finished. Right. And when they're actually good, I mean, it's pretty damn near a miracle a lot of times, just because, it's not like, hey, we're going to make a new shoe. It's not like making a new pair of Nikes. You kind of have a factory. Yeah. You have
a few drawings.
Okay, well, we're going to need a size 9. We're going to need a size 10. Yep. We're going to need certain
5 materials.
Yeah, we're going to need certain things, like this. I mean, there are certain things that are set in other industries, whereas a game, a lot of times, hey, let's do something new. Okay, well, that's cool, but how are we going to know if that's fun or not? Well, it kind of sounds fun.
And let me guess, halfway through the development, months, someone else comes out with this thing.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Our idea might suck.
Yeah, wow. That's the thing, you're like, oh, this sounds great on paper, and then as you start developing it, you're like, wow, actually isn't so good in practice, or wow, this is going to be hard to transfer into an actual game, or okay, yeah, it is kind of fun, but we need to add more fun.
Right.
When it's like, okay,
you've got your whole company is bored.
Well,
all of a sudden, like, wow, what happened to our magic? Like,
well, and that does happen sometimes because game development. If game development was for like a month, you could kind of keep. All right, let's do it in September. We can get it done. But when you're working on a game for a year, 18 months, 2 years, then. A lot of times towards the end, you're like, "Oh man, I'm ready for this damn game to be done."
Yeah, right.
You really start kind of getting tired of it.
Only so much your human brain can.
Yeah, I mean, you just kind of can get tired of things, But yeah, it's funny because as you're doing all that stuff, you brought up something that obviously scares the shit out of the people who spend the money on making games, which are normally the publishers, and that's having another publisher release a similar title to market before the game that you're making gets out.
And yours looks like it's an imitation of...
Yeah, it looks like it's a copy, and I mean, or, it's either got, the problem is that you're either first to market or you got to release something that's a lot better than the thing that was first to market,
Another year.
Yeah, Jeez. And so, and it's one of those things where, games get canceled. You're working on a game. You could be working on a game for a year, 2 years, and then the publisher's like, yeah, you know what? We've changed our minds.
Yep.
We're just going to eat this price, so cancel.
The publisher's kids started playing something, and you're shiny.
Well, and
you're the only person that can really answer this. For all the years I've been coming to Japan, what's your day like? What's the working day like?
Well, I mean, it's as since it's my own company, I mean, one of the big things that we wanted to do when we got started was we kind of wanted to get away from the regular, 9 to 5, 10 to 6, 7, punch the clock for lunch, punch the clock to go home. Because, for us, all my guys, we're all industry vets. We've been making games for years and years. We've all shipped tons of titles. And so for us, the big thing was we kind of wanted to just be able to come to work whenever we wanted, get our work done, and go home kind of whenever we wanted. And so, honestly, most of my guys, I mean, we'll roll into the office 12, 1.